Hello, my fellow HR professionals. This is Eric from Standard Consult. I am a data analyst and also a Microsoft Office specialist. I would like to invite you to our 2023 Data Analytics course for HR professionals. This training seeks to equip the individual with the various tools and skills that are needed to become a professional HR analyst. The training will cover three most important aspects when it comes to data analytics. That is the Microsoft Excel, HR matrices, and also dashboard. Under the Microsoft Excel, we'll be looking at the various functions and formulas that are necessary or that are needed to become a professional data analyst. We'll look at the various charts that are needed when it comes to dashboard. And we'll also look at the various functions and techniques that we can employ to help us analyze our data, especially pivot tables. We'll also go on and look at the various HR matrices that we can use to measure the performance of our employees and also the performance of the company. We'll look at example, cost per hire, we'll look at revenue per employee, we'll look at the attrition periods and all that. Lastly, but not the least, we'll go on to look at how to create dashboard for decision making and also how to present your data in a way that is globally accepted for management. We'll look at some dashboard, including the HR management dashboard, which will come out beautiful like this. Then we'll also look at, as a group, we'll also decide to look at something on COVID and see how we can present it in a way that we can make meaningful decision out of it. One thing I know for sure is that gives you value for money. I would like to see you all in our next training. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching us from. Welcome to today's episode of Sadat HR Digest. And I'm so excited about today's discussion. Today is a special Father's Day episode. And on behalf of the team, I'd like to wish all our viewers, in fact, every father, a happy Father's Day. Thank you so much for all the support, all the love, and all the attention. We are very much grateful to you, and we really, really, really appreciate you. Well, if today is the first time of watching us or joining in our discussion, that's a Sadat HR Digest, where we discuss relevant people and organizational topics, and where we learn to build a solid workplace environment that impacts positively on the people we work with and on the bottom line. Today, we are discussing supporting working fathers, workplace policies, and initiatives. But before I introduce my guest, I'd like you to know that Sadat HR Digest is brought to us by Sadat Consult. You can contact Sadat Consult on 0244 629245, 0244 629245 for all your people and organizational needs. Talk about anything HR, and Sadat HR Consult is there to sort you out. And we are also supported by Quick Fix Creatives. You can contact them on 05520900057, 05520900057 for all your designing and printing needs. Like I said, today we are discussing supporting working fathers, workplace policies, and initiatives. And I have wonderful guests here to help us digest the topic, to help us understand, and to help us learn on what to do when it comes to supporting working fathers. Don't forget to drop your name and location in our comment box. We would read it out. We want to acknowledge you. We want to appreciate you for joining in. So please don't forget, drop your name, your location in the comment section. I'll read it out so we can duly acknowledge you. If you have any question while the discussion is going on, feel free to drop it at same place. We'll read it out to our resource persons to respond to us. And if you also want to seek clarification or contribute to the discussion, today is a special edition. So please feel free. Let's make it very interactive. Let's learn. Remember, we are here to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Right. So let me go straight to introducing my guests. And they are friends of Sadat HR Digest. We've seen them here over and over again, and I'm so excited to be hosting them today. And so I'll first of all want to introduce Solomon Ohene Owusu. Solomon is a seasoned and experienced HR practitioner. He has over a decade experience in human resource management in the FMCG industry, pharmaceutical, port, and financial industries. He is currently the Director of Human Resource Administration and Corporate Affairs at Welma International. Thank you so much for joining us, Solomon. You are welcome to Sadat HR Digest.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you, Patience. Thank you.
All right. So my next guest is Jeffrey Boham. Jeffrey is a global learning and development, business, project management, and general human resource management and development professional. He's so excited. Anytime you talk to Jeff and you have diversity and inclusion coming in, you should know that, Shale, you have stirred the man up. And so we are happy to have Jeff once again on our screen. Jeff, you are welcome to Sadat HR Digest, and a happy Father's Day to you. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Well, welcome to Sadat HR Digest, and a happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you very much. And
all right.
Happy Father's Day to you, Mr. Solomon.
Happy Father's to you too, Jeffrey.
Absolutely.
All right. Absolutely. We are happy to have Solomon, to have Jeffrey with us today, and they will be helping us to respond to certain questions and also find the best way to handle working fathers at our workplace. Many a times when we are thinking about workplace policies, we think more of the women than the men. But I believe today they will open our eyes to certain things, and that will help us to think about our gentlemen also when we are developing and when we are coming up with HR initiatives at our workplace. Josephine, thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome. You keep watching us Sunday after Sunday. We want to say thank you very much. Right, so we want to kickstart our discussion. I know my guests are ready, and we are also ready to learn and listen to what they have for us. But first of all, I would like to find out from them when it comes to workplace policies and initiatives that supports gentlemen or that supports men or single fathers or working fathers. What is your take on it? There's a general question. Both of them will answer, and then we can go on to other. What's your take on supporting working fathers at the workplace? Solomon, you want to pick this first?
Okay, that's fine. So for me, over the years, men's issue at the workplace are not really looked at because there has been always the belief that men are strong. And therefore, when it comes to working policies and initiatives, men are not looked at in that line. And you also realize that it would depend on industry to industry. So where the industry has a lot of female gender or male, then their policies may align with that. But I must say that in my years of working, I've realized that issues or initiatives for men in terms of policies and in terms of fatherhood has not been highlighted to the way it has to be.
All right, thank you. Issues of men or fatherhood has not been highlighted like the way it has to be. Jeff, what's your take on supporting working fathers at the workplace?
Well, thank you very much. I think Solomon has covered the bulk of it. I'm a Ghanaian also. I lived in Ghana, worked in Ghana before I came here to the United States. And what I tell you is that we are behind. When I'm speaking to Ghana, we're behind because in Ghana, okay, it felt safe, and what Solomon said is absolutely complete.
Oh, sorry, we lost Jeffrey. I'm sure he's going to he will join us soon. All right, so maybe we'll continue whilst we wait for Jeff to join. So Solomon, we want you to give us an overview of the current landscape of working fathers in terms of workplace policies and initiatives.
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, there isn't much. In fact, I must say that as HR practitioners, we haven't been able to espouse or push this strategic agenda for business to believe that indeed men has to be taken care of. You realize that even in our constitution and our labor acts, everything is centered on women. So then it makes it that same way at the back of men or policymakers when they're doing policies for organizations. But I believe that there must be a paradigm where business will look at it that when we talk about parenthood, we talk about policies and then taking care of children or fatherhood. It is not just about women taking care of children, but it's also about fathers linking their soul's emotions and then strength towards the child to be able to
Madam Patience.
live and then appreciate their fathers. But Patience, I believe if you look at the current dispensation, you realize that even
Madam
when it is
Patience.
Father's Day.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah.
You're welcome
Did-
back. So
from
Jeff, your network is not stable here. We are having feedback of breakages from your end, and so we'll be very happy if you can look at it and then join us back. Solomon, can we please proceed whilst Jeff fixes
Okay.
his network?
All right. So what I was just trying to wrap up with was that if you look at the current business policies and then workplace policies on fatherhood, it is relegated to the bottom because everybody thinks that men are strong. So in terms of support and all, maybe naturally because men don't talk much when they are going through emotional stress, and also that has also all culminated in making the man look like they are not to be taken care of when it comes to fatherhood and then workplace policies. Yeah.
All right. So okay, so we have Susu Samuel joining us from Kumasi. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Zachary. Thank you, Linda, for joining us. We are having interesting conversation with our guests here, and we are very happy to have Solomon and Jeffrey as our guests for today. And so, hi, Jeff.
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's better.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, the internet hasn't been choppy here, so that's why I'm wondering if it's something in between because the internet is perfectly stable here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the weird part.
We can hear you. We can hear you now.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes
So,
it's connectivity issues. For example, when you have days where you have a lot of people calling Ghana, Okay, you have like a lot of people connect, like fighting through the lines. So that does happen. If it was like a regular day, then it might have gone through much easier. But anyway, I hear you perfectly.
Okay, so you are welcome back. And so Solomon just gave us his thoughts on the overview of the current landscape of working fathers in terms of workplace policies and initiatives. And we'll be very happy if you can also give us your thoughts on that.
I would say that yes, it's true that men compared to women are generally kind of sidelined. However, here in the United States, most organizations do make an effort to really value, like I would say, men, particularly single men. So whenever they create policies because the topic of equity, diversity, and things like that is more highlighted in the United States. So when it comes to workplace issues, you find that a lot more men are brought in than they are like when I was back in Ghana. Okay. So the key point that I'm trying to emphasize is that it's important as a country, and I'm speaking directly to Ghana, it's important as a country that we pay closer attention to what Solomon has said. Truthfully, yes, recognizing that men go through challenges also. Like, I mean, for example, in this part of the world, when you talk about a single mother, everybody starts showing mercy and support and things like that. Oh, she's going through a lot of experience. Who says that a single father? You know what I mean? And the whole mindset globally that women, you don't have to go to spend, men will cry, men go to the bathroom and cry. So the truth is that everything that women go through, men go through. So as we go through some of these policies, it's important that when we look at policies within organizations, that we pay attention to what the men go through, particularly single fathers who probably don't have a wife at home. Okay, to get all the support. I mean, obviously, single mothers don't have a husband at home, so they have to do everything. They have to be the father and the mother. But when it comes to single fathers, we don't have a wife too. So that's the issue. When we're crafting workplace policy.
Oh, we lost him. We lost him. But I guess we got his submission very well, and Jeff is also saying that we need to pay attention when it comes to developing policies and coming up with initiatives. We need to pay attention to men or working fathers, especially single working fathers, because they are going through a lot, managing and handling a whole lot of things alone, just like the way the ladies do. So we shouldn't only pay much attention to the women, but we should equally pay attention to the fathers, especially single fathers. I would like to go back to Solomon, and we want to find out from him. Solomon, what are some of the key challenges that working fathers face in balancing their and family responsibilities?
All right. So it is said the fathers have to provide for the home. So you would have fathers working 24/7 to make sure that they get money to take care of the family. So the focus had been on the fact that I have to work to support the family with money. So when you look at a lot of organizations, especially with my years of work and places that I've worked in, you realize that per the demographics, I've worked with a male dominant organizations than female.
Yeah.
When it comes to men issues, no. Even when you want to make policies in that line, if you don't take care, the men themselves will harass you to say that, no, I want to work to make money. So that in there also bring the fact that people are not really willing to put up initiatives that will support the men. But I can tell you that currently, from what I see, and then the little interaction that I've had with people, men really have issues when it comes to fatherhood and then their work-life balance.
Men really have issues when it comes to their work-life balance. We want to go to Jeff. Jeff, we are discussing the key challenges that working fathers face in balancing their work and family responsibilities. We want to find out from what do you think are some of the key challenges that working fathers face?
Well, this is not something I just read in books. I've lived this life, so what I'm saying is the truth, which is, which is, for example, I like when I have my daughter. Okay, I have to wake up in the morning. I have to bath her like every mother would do. Okay, I have to drive my daughter to school. I mean, I'm talking pre-COVID. I have to drive my daughter to school before I go to work. So that puts a strain on me. Before I go to work, I'm even challenged. And then midway through, they say your daughter's crying. You have to leave work and go to school, go talk to your daughter, go do this, go do that, that kind of thing. So I think it's important, just the way mothers are giving flex time, just the way mothers are giving days to just relax, rest, and recuperate. Fathers go through the same thing. But you see, like Solomon has been saying throughout, the idea that women need help, but men should, suck it up, is just not fair. And I think it's high time, and I'm glad that Sadat Consult is taking this challenge and bringing this issue to the fore. I think we have to go beyond, in my opinion, we have to go beyond just HR talking about these things. CEOs have to be brought in, because companies that actually deliberately craft policies to support working fathers are going to attract great talent versus companies that don't do that. Because like with the two of us have been saying, men do go through a lot. When I play things back, I mean, even people on Facebook call me and tell me, you go through a lot with your daughter. I'm driving her 2 hours to basketball games and coming back, and nobody sees you as that man doing it. Sometimes you even meet people, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm not just speaking from books. Sometimes you even do meet people, and after a whole day of running your child through basketball games, through, gymnastics and everything, they ask you, so how often do you see your daughter? I mean, these are things a man has to go through every day. Okay. How often do I see my daughter? That's my daughter. She lives with me. But nobody views me as somebody who's capable of taking care of. So I think it's important that the workplace comes to terms, just like the way we are coming to terms with maybe ladies not being given that many opportunities in leadership. This is a topic that is massive and needs to be brought up. So I'm glad that Sadat is really championing this cause, and it's very important that we keep pushing forward.
Right. So, how have workplace policies and initiatives evolved to support working fathers in recent times? I mean, if you look at the past and now, do you think there has been a change in doing that?
Absolutely.
And what's the change that has taken place, and how can we do more on this? Jeff, you want to pick this, and then Solomon will come in.
Yes. So I'm looking at it from different perspectives. As somebody who has moved from Ghana to the United States, first and foremost, I see a dramatic increase. Maybe they've been through this so many years and have made a lot of adjustments. Okay, you see more awareness and more recognition of fathers in the United States than you see in Ghana. When I lived in Ghana, I don't know how much has changed, but I see a lot of improvement. Now, generally, even within the 20-something years that I've been here, I've seen that awareness continue to grow. More and more companies are bringing up the topic. And the more we have gender equality issues coming up, the more we hear the men saying, what about us? What about us? You keep knocking on the door that we should make accommodations for women. What about us? So I'm seeing a lot of changes. I'm seeing fathers, I'm seeing schools, organizations that have crèches on campus, where instead of the man driving the kid to school before coming to work, the man goes to work straight, and there's a school right there on campus where, so a lot of companies are bringing schools, like crèches. I would say some organizations have from crèche all the way through maybe elementary school on campus at the workplace. Paternal leaves. Almost every organization in the States, I would say about 90% of them do have paternal leaves. People's wives give birth, people give birth to kids, and parents stay home for 6 weeks. Fathers stay home, mothers stay home sometimes for maybe 3 months or something. Fathers stay home for 6 weeks. So it's improved a lot. When I came to this country initially, it was just 1 week paternity leave. Okay, but now you're getting more and more companies moving from 1 to 3 weeks to 6 weeks. So that recognition, there's definitely, I think, with awareness and with a conversation being brought to the table, more and more organizations are using that not just as a way to just accommodate men, but as a way to attract top talent. That's another important thing.
Yeah. I think, Jeff, that was what I was going to say, that now employers are looking at employer value propositions. So if people are coming to your work, in recent times, some interviews that I've had with males, and you would realize you are asking them, why do you want to leave company A to us? And the simple question is, I want to support my family, and that where I stay now is closer to your workplace than where I'm currently working. And therefore, because I want to support my family, I'm choosing this company. Hitherto, you would realize people would only say that, oh, your company is great, blah, blah, blah. That is why we want to join you. But that paradigm is shifting. Again, if you look at companies in Ghana, especially those the multinationals, because their workplace policies have inspiration from the global one, you will notice that it tends to align with the global policies. And therefore, you will have things like paternity leave, maybe off days, and all those kind of. But like I mentioned earlier, in our Labor Act, it doesn't really take care of the man, because it talks about maternity, which is for the female, but for the man there is nothing like that. So it is, for me, companies will now have to look and review their policies. I would just tell you about some shocking revelation that we've recently had, where we decided to take initiatives to have a mental health talk with our employees. And in the conversation, when we finished, men actually came to tell us about issues that they are going through, that they needed support from the business. And those support came out as a result of we bringing a mental psychiatrist, to come and then give those topics. So you realize that men are going through a lot. If you are not strategic to take an initiative, you will see your people there as very okay, until one day you see it crashing upon you as an HR person.
If you don't take an initiative about your men or your gentlemen in your organizations, one day it will crash on you. And so please, you want to review your policies, you want to look at it again and include them, think about them, bring them into the picture, let them feel part of, because they are equally going through a lot as we, the women. Now, talking about some of the things, which includes some organizations giving paternity leave and all that. I would want us to look at some examples of successful workplace policies or initiatives that have made positive impact on working fathers' experience. All right, so we want to look at some examples of some initiatives that have been successful and has impacted positively on our men at the workplace. Solomon, you want to go with this? And
Okay.
once you give us the Ghana perspective, Jeff will come in with the US perspective or the international one, and then we'll blend the two, because there are so many things that we want to learn. We want to make sure that people are having good experience, especially men are having good experiences with it. And for what you said, that somebody came for an interview and it's not about the money of, that's why the person is changing job, but the mere fact that the person wants to have time for the family means a lot is happening. And so we want to know some of the successful programs that those of us watching can also learn and implement it at our workplaces.
Okay, so first and foremost, we have, let me say, we are reviewing currently our policies, but we still have the paternity leave in there, where when women had given birth and their husbands are working, we give them that 5 days to stay off and then take care of the family. I remember someone asking that, as for the men, the perception or the myth is that, oh, when even you give them the 5 days, they will not stay at home.
Absolutely.
They,
They will
they,
go and have
they,
their personal.
yeah, they'll be roaming. But I also feel
Yeah.
that it is for HR to let people understand that we are giving you those days to bond with your family. So it is not because we are giving you, your wife is giving birth, so you have to just go home. It is for you. So you must explain what it means to give you the paternity leave to the employee. Again, what we have done is to support fatherhood, and then employees is about medical insurance. So because we know very well that if you are at the workplace and you have these challenges of you being called that your daughter or your son is not well and he has to be rushed to the hospital, the anxiety it brings on you. So we've taken care, have a nation, what's it called, health insurance, which is high, and then employees are using in terms of sickness and then any medical condition that they would want to. Let me tell you about one initiative we took somewhere last year when the economy was in crisis. So we realized that the dollar was just moving up and down and all. And as business, you would want it to be strategic. So you say, okay, let me just hold on and see how the price will go, because I've bought an item at this price and then I have to sell it at that price. Will it be beneficial? So when we looked at those conditions, we decided, and we actually called a town hall session to inform employees that these are the conditions we are facing. So we want them to be at home, salaries fully paid, and they should go and support their families and bond. And I can tell you that the revelation was, some came and said, I didn't even know that ABCD until I stayed at home, because we run shifts where people are working 24/7. So the person does not really have time to even know the things and conditions of their daughters or their sons in school. So these are some of the initiatives and policies that we have taken up to make sure our fathers and mothers at the workplace are taken care of well.
All right. Thank you very much, Solomon. Jeff?
Yeah, I would say that, again, I don't want to just compare Ghana with the US. But over here in the US, I think this conversation has probably been ongoing for a long time. So what I see to be workplace initiatives that really support men, I mean, they do cut across. These are general policies like the employee assistance programs, where people who are going through stressful conditions would go. They have a private room. They have private numbers. You can go to the room, just call and say, this is what I'm dealing with. Are there any resources within this organization that I can get? Men take advantage of that a lot, particularly, let's say, single fathers who are going through divorce issues and things like that. And most of you know already, divorce issues, they can take a toll on you in the United States. I mean, when you know everything you've worked for is probably going to go away. You know what I mean? So they have EAP programs, they have lawyers, they have workplace, they have mental health first aid training programs that people can go and take. I mean, one of the key things that I would say men have benefited quite a lot from is the mental health issues. Men go through a lot. A lot of men die early because of stress. People say, oh, they did this. No, that's not the truth. It's the mental health that killed them, because they cannot even express themselves. They cannot tell people what they're going through. Now, with the paternity policies, one thing that I'm starting to realize and hear a lot of men talk about is the fact that even the paternity leave that men get benefits the women too. So, for example, when the woman is taking care of the kids, the man is the one running the errands, buying the baby milk. The man gets sent, go to the hospital, go to this, go get this, go to the doctor, go to this. So more and more men are benefiting from it, and they are coming back to the workplace and saying, thank God this organization gives that. And like Solomon said, men will come to interviews and tell you, if I don't get this, I can't work for you. Because in my previous company, they did that for my wife, and that made me bond more with her. Because when the women also realize, when the women who do, obviously, when a child comes, the woman does more of the work. So when the woman who's doing more of the work, bathing the kid, doing this, doing that, and all that, when the woman gets help from the man, okay, it benefits the woman as well. So women are increasingly informing their men, pay attention to companies that give you this, that. So I would say here in the US, a lot of the policies are already working, okay, but they could do even more. But I don't know, currently, I haven't been in Ghana, I mean, in some years. I don't know, and I don't know the landscape that well in terms of what organizations are doing. And I think this should be kind of a rallying call for people who are decision makers. You know, some HR people care about all these things, but we are not getting a chance to make decisions and change policies around. It's important that we call our leaders, our CEOs, to understand that it's not a waste of money. It's an employee attraction tool. It's an engagement tool. These are things that can be used to actually get the best and the brightest if you're giving them an opportunity. Work just general flex time that men can, I worked for one organization that actually had I think, rest and relaxation day. They had 2 days for rest and relaxation that anybody could take without asking any questions, and they were paid. Okay. Wow. So these are days where, let's say, something happens to my son or my daughter. Okay. I can activate it and tell my people I can't come to work today. I'm taking a rest day because I have to do something with my daughter. Some people may abuse it, but there are a lot of people who actually do take that and utilize it very well. Because sometimes when you find yourself having to give an excuse for not going to work, let's say it's a big meeting or something, most men will be like, forget whatever's going on at home. I really need to keep my job. And then they go to work, they do what they have to do at work, they earn the money, but they come home and then they are going through problems at home. Their wives are unhappy because they don't pay attention to home issues and things. So organizations that can say in every month, everybody has 2 days free. Whatever you want to do. Maybe I'm just tired. I just want to rest. Okay. Just call in Monday morning. Maybe I traveled with the family. I drove 8 hours here, 8 hours back. I'm tired. I just don't want to go to work. So organizations that are giving 2 days in every month free, some are getting a lot more people. So these are things that I think organizations can really start looking into. And again, I think
Jeff.
Yeah.
We are struggling to hear you. I think your volume is down. I don't know.
Do you hear me now?
Not too loud. It's your voice is.
Yeah, I know what's happening. So I'm on my phone and somebody's trying to call me, but I'm not picking up. So when the person
calls,
it's gonna.
Then I guess that's why.
You know, when people are calling on Father's Day, there are some people when they call you and you don't pick up, so please bear with me. Few more minutes. When a person realizes, might say Jeffrey's asleep. So, but I hope you heard what I said earlier, which is these things they do come at a great benefit, and it doesn't just benefit the man; it benefits the woman, and it benefits the organization. Because for a man to make a choice to work, especially if the man is good and brings a lot of value, for the man to make a choice to pick one company from the other, most of the time they look at some of these things. It's not like they don't look at it. The men don't just look at money now. Especially men who want to stay married and be happy married. You know what I mean? So
as part of even our initiatives, what we do is that when mothers give birth, the business, because we are an FMCG company, we get company products and then give to the employee to be given to their wives. And these are, name it, the soaps, the detergents, the oil, the rice, and all. So we put all together and then give to our families just to support them. And also for the woman to believe that indeed my husband is taking care of the home, even if he's not around and he has to get in anything. Because, in those times, it is quite difficult to be able to support families. So these are some of the things that we do. And we actually also even have on the female side, a motherhood platform where we advise our mothers or female employees on how to work and stay with their husbands so that they wouldn't also concentrate much on maybe home or work and then leave that gap behind. So these are some of the things that we are doing to make sure that employees stay and then there is a balance between home and then the workplace.
These are things that we need to do to ensure that there is a balance between home and the workplace. And I also believe that sometimes it's not all about money. When we listen to our guests, you notice that there are a lot of platforms and engagement programs that they are done. You don't necessarily have to use money. And so if you are watching us and you are listening to us, look at your environment, look at the business, look at what you are into. Come up with an initiative that will support your men. Because remember, when they get this benefit, it goes a long way to also positively affect the women as well. And so you would want to put in place policies and programs that would also support the men, and you want attention to them. We would be going on a quick break. When we come back, we would have our guests educate us on some of the things as managers and leaders within the organizations we can do to create that supporting or supportive environment for our working fathers. And so right from this break, our guests would help us to learn, or they would help us educate us on some of the things that we can do as leaders to create a supportive environment for our working environment. See you after the break.
Hello, my fellow HR professionals. This is Eric from Standard Consult. I am a data analyst and also a Microsoft Office specialist. I would like to invite you to our 2023 Data Analytics course for HR professionals. This training seeks to equip the individual with the various tools and skills that are needed to become a professional HR analyst. The training will cover three most important aspects when it comes to data analytics. That is the Microsoft Excel, HR matrices, and also dashboard. Under the Microsoft Excel, we'll be looking at the various functions and formulas that are necessary or that are needed to become a professional data analyst. We'll look at the various charts that are needed when it comes to dashboard. And we'll also look at the various functions and techniques that we can employ to help us analyze our data, especially pivot tables. We'll also go on and look at the various HR matrices that we can use to measure the performance of our employees and also the performance of the company. We'll look at example, cost per hire, we'll look at revenue per employee, we'll look at the attrition periods and all that. Lastly, but not the least, we'll go on to look at how to create dashboard for decision making and also how to present your data in a way that is globally accepted for management. We'll look at some dashboard, including the HR management dashboard, which will come out beautiful like this. Then we'll also look at, as a group, we'll also decide to look at something on COVID and see how we can present it in a way that we can make meaningful decision out of it. One thing I know for sure is that gives you value for money. I would like to see you all in our next training. Thank you.
Hello, welcome back from the break. This is HR Digest, brought to you by Sedat Consult and supported by Quick Fix Creatives. We are discussing supporting working fathers, workplace policies, and initiatives. So my resource persons are Solomon and Jeffrey. We have had some, interesting conversations, and now I have started praying that our time will not run up so we can learn more from our resource persons. Before we go back to the question I asked before the break, I'd like to acknowledge Mary Ann. Mary, thank you so much for joining. Patty Love says, Solo, I see you. He sees you too. Kwabna says, hi from Tema. Thank you, Kwabna. Beatrice Opoku says, King Solomon in action. Good job. Thank you very much. Ken is doing a good job here. And we pray that we would have more of him before our time runs up. And if I have my own way, I would have held the time from moving. So we'll stay on this. We'll stay on 4:47 So we finished everything we want to talk about. Then I'll release the time to now run. But thank you. We are resource persons are blessing us and they are giving us much insight to the topic. Mohammed says, "Oh, okay." He says it's Fahad watching from Tamale. Thank you, Mohammed Fahad. We are very grateful for your time and we hope you are learning. All right. So before we left, I mentioned that when we come back, our resource persons will help us to know some of the roles that as managers and supervisors we can play in creating a supportive environment for our working fathers. Jeffrey, you want to pick this for us?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is something that I would have to say that I learned this from one of my previous organizations. And think about it this way: organizations are a group of individuals that have come together to work in small groups. So as managers, I think it's important, first and foremost, for the organization to give us the flexibility and the financial capability to support our teams and when within the context of, I would say, organizational policies. What do I mean here? It's important that all managers are given that opportunity to be able to get closer to their teams and really understand what's going on with their teams, whether they are males or females. So things like I look at it like layers of an onion. Okay, they are the larger organizational policies and things like that. But it's important that managers spend time getting to know their people one on one, spend time getting their people to know each other. It's important that we have team activities where people go and spend time together and truly understand what's going on. I mean, I've been with a team before where something happens to person A. I mean, we don't need the entire organization, but the team can select 3, 4, 5 people to go and visit with the family and say, "We heard that you had a son. We want to come and say good morning to your son. This is your husband. This is the team that he works with. We brought flowers to you." So the wife realizes that the man doesn't just go to work to just play and hang around people. It's that emotional support, that camaraderie as a team. I think all these things do work together. There are times where we have like issues where certain ladies are going through certain challenges. Okay, people donate their time. They can say, okay, instead of having Susie work on this project for the next 5 hours, we are, as a team, are giving Susie the freedom to pay attention to her daughter because of what is happening with Susie. That can be done with the man as well. So Jeffrey has a son, Jeffrey has a daughter. The team can decide and say, "Jeffrey, we as a team, we're giving you 2 days. We're going to do your work for you. We'll make sure your work is done. Okay, we're donating our time. We're just going to work maybe instead of 8 hours, we're going to work, all of us are going to work 10 hours every day. Okay, we're going to do this on a pro bono basis. Stay home. Your manager is going to say that, look, it's okay. We chose to let Jeffrey stay home." These are little things that managers, when we do, okay, when we bring that culture of being supportive of each other, when we bring it in, we benefit, the organization benefits, everybody gets engagement across board. So realistically, I think that's the least that managers can do. In addition to applying company policies like letting people take flex time as and when necessary, we have to look at just the team support and team camaraderie that brings people in.
All right. So I think, Jeff, you've said it all, but I will look at it from two perspectives. One is on resilience, and then the other one is on managers or supervisors understanding the kind of support that they need to give. So you realize that any workplace related action or intervention, managers will just direct it to the HR or go to the HR. So for me, the action or the way forward is, are we equipping managers or are we training managers to understand how to even initiate conversations and support in those lines? So if the manager doesn't understand what he needs to do, then there will be that gap. On the resilience part, this initiative that you would want to put up or these policies that you want to put up, organizations already look at HR as cost center. So if you want to put out these things and you are not able to justify the benefit that the organization will have in terms of paternity leave, for example, or giving product to employees and all, it will not be in the interest of the employer to sanction that to be done, because the employer first and foremost is looking at the P&L. So I would say that for HR managers and then supervisors, one, we need our resilience, and then two, we need to make sure that our supervisors and managers are well equipped so that they can give and render that support that is needed.
Equip your managers to give the support that is needed. Get closer to your team members and know them one by one, and give that emotional support that your team will require, especially your working fathers. And you have to be resilient, and you need to build capacity, help the men or your leaders to help implement some of these things for you. I mean, everything. I agree perfectly with you, Solomon. Everything is HR. Everything HR. Everything is HR, and sometimes it's worrying, because what the managers would have to do, even if they know they can do it, they will still direct you to HR for HR to decide for them. And that is why we as HR people need to have that spirit of resilience, so that we can make sure that whenever things like this come to our decks, we are doing the right thing, we are standing up to the truth, we are standing up to best practices, and we are helping our managers to support their team members. All right, so we want to look at, are there potential barriers or resistance within the organizations when it comes to implementing policies that support working fathers?
Yeah,
If I can go in on this quickly, because something just happened, and Madam Patience, when you were speaking and when Solomon was speaking, I think Solomon clearly delineated the role of HR versus the role of managers. And that is a big, in my opinion, that is a big thing that, in fact, one lady who happened to have attended the recent HR brunch by one group in Ghana, this lady was back, we had lunch, and then we were talking. We said, what's the difference that we see between HR in Ghana and HR in this part of the world? You see, HR in Ghana is still staying in the boxed idea, that HR is a department and people have to consult HR to be given permission, to be given power to do certain things. When you come to this part of the world, okay, HR has been blended into the organization where every manager knows they have an HR responsibility. So HR has educated managers so much to the point where managers already know what the HR policies are. They're like, let me do this. And when I do this, okay, HR, it will be in alignment with the HR policies and things. So I say, first and foremost, it's important that HR, we have to constantly train our managers. We have to constantly bring our managers in for them to know that everybody within the organization, including individuals, has an HR responsibility. If you find somebody that's doing something that's not right, you don't have to always go to HR and report the person to HR. You want to let the person let the person know that, hey, wait, this is against company policy, and from an HR point of view, we shouldn't be doing. Everybody is part of HR. So I think back to the question, I think it's important that we empower leaders. We empower all leaders to understand that they all have an HR function. So rather than them saying HR needs to empower them, they have to do what is right. Just like everybody's a police officer. If you see somebody stealing, okay, you have a responsibility to say this is not right and things like that. So I think that's the level of empowerment that we have to get for everybody to be part of the solution, that for us waiting for HR to play the role of a policeman, if that's making sense.
Sure. So we thank you very much, Jeff. We want to quickly pick this. Our time is fast running, and we'll pick this question and then one other question. Then we can bring the discussion to a close. Now, are there any potential barriers or resistance when it comes to implementing policies that supports working fathers?
I
Okay,
would
so
say that what I just mentioned is a barrier in and of itself. People not truly understanding that everybody is part of HR is a barrier. People thinking that they have to send things to HR. If you're seeing somebody stealing, you have to be able to go to the person and tell the person, this is wrong. As an organization, we have to change this. Rather than saying, well, I don't want to go report the person to HR. So it's a lack of psychological safety. Okay, we have to break that psychological rigidity barrier. That's number one. And I would say culture could also be an issue, organizational culture. So HR has a responsibility, I would say, to set the guardrails and the guidelines for people to understand that, wait, this is what is acceptable within this organization. This is what's not acceptable. Because to a large extent, some people say, that's, and then you're leaving the thing back to HR. So some people will say, like, this is how we've done it all these years. Why should we change? Okay, culture is a dynamic entity. So we have to just empower people by creating psychological safety. I think once we have the policies and we hold people accountable, if we first and foremost, HR has to enact the policies. We have to hold people accountable. We have to give people that psychological safety to be able to go and say, person A, person B, what you're doing is wrong. It's against company policy and things like that. So, again, when it comes down to resistance that people face in creating some of these policies, it's, yes, truthfully, it starts with HR, but it's important that HR has to empower and train people to clearly know that it's everybody's responsibility, not just one person's responsibility. Sorry for rehammering this point, because when I had a conversation with the lady is African American, and she was at a conference in Ghana. She was like, "That's where I see the difference, which is why do we leave HR to do everything? Okay, everybody should be part of the solution." I see Mr. Solomon nodding his head, so he definitely wants to say something.
Everybody should be part of the solution. Solomon.
Jeffrey, in fact, you hit the nail right on the head. The point is that every work-related issue or employee-related issue has been the burden of the HR. But again, the other aspect I would want to advise HR practitioners to be doing is that because traditionally HR are seen as personnel and they handle people, even when someone is terminated or dismissal, the supervisor says HR did it. So how are we changing from that aspect? Now, one, I think HR practitioners should ask themselves, how regular do we run our employees through the policies that organization has? Are people abreast with the organizational policies so that they know that if I do this, it's this, if I do that, it's that? There are times that I can tell you an employee does something and then you bring the employee forward and then he tells you that I don't even know that it's in the policy. That is not an excuse, but for HR people to be proactive, we should be looking at that aspect. The other aspect I would also look at is that, so if HR is going to be seen as really doing its job, then we must, again, like Jeffrey said, equip our managers, our supervisors to understand the process. Why should someone report to you that Jeffrey has done something and therefore you have to give Jeffrey a show cause notice when you are the manager and the supervisor? You know the work details and what the person is supposed to do, so that you would have to now give the person that show cause notice. And when the person responds and you are not in alignment with it, then you bring it to HR attention. These are things that I believe when we start implementing and initiating, it would make the HR business a strategic one, and then employees will appreciate HR much better.
Right,
I will
thank you.
say something. I will say something in addition to what Solomon said. I've seen organizations where you go to HR and report somebody. You take action, you also get brought into trouble. So you
Jeff, we lost you. Hello, Jeff. Your line is.
Do you hear me now?
It's.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better. So if you can take it again, because we lost you.
Yeah. So what I wanted to add to what Solomon has said so articulately is that there are two aspects. I think leaders, first and foremost, must model the way. Okay. Leaders must, for example, when people come to you and report other people, you ask them, what did you do about it? So at that point, what you're doing is you're empowering them, number one. And then we also have to hold people accountable more. That accountability culture, unfortunately, is what we haven't really pushed in our part of the world. I'm not Ghana alone, but in most developing economies, we don't hold people accountable. Okay, so because we don't hold people accountable, everybody tries to say, well, it's somebody else's job. It's somebody else. HR has to do this. Who has to do that? But when in certain cultures, in Western countries, when you go report somebody, when you didn't take anything about it, you are part of the problem, and you get chastised also. So Solomon has said everything so articulately. I just think it's important to add to the fact that as leaders, in addition to being that example, in addition to modeling the way, we also have to be able to hold ourselves and other people accountable in order to build the right culture.
We need to model the way as leaders. We need to build the right culture. We need to regularly train our people or our employees on the organizational policies and hold them accountable. We need to equip our managers. Don't keep everything to yourself as an HR person. Let them know their roles as managers, the HR role they need to play to support you. If not, you stress out and you burn out, and even you are likely to even die on the job because you can't carry
Yes.
everything. You need to train them so they can support you. That is why we are all leaders. It is all of us our responsibility. And so I'd like to ask our last question, and then we would bring the discussion to a close. If you have any question, you want to seek any clarification, please type it in the comment box. I'll read it out to our resource persons. Now, Solomon, looking forward, okay, or looking ahead, what trends or changes do you anticipate in the workplace when it comes to policies and initiatives that support working?
Okay. Thanks, Patience. I think we've mentioned all this in our conversation. The first one is looking at policies that will benefit fathers and then make them want to make a choice to work with you. So, as a business, what are your value proposition that you sell out to the employee who would want to join you? You would notice I mentioned earlier about the employee who was looking at distance and not the money. As business, we should be looking at bringing up some of these things in our policies so that employee coming on board will know that, okay, yes, this is the best employer that I would want to work with. So the trend in HR, as I see, is changing because now there is competition. People are being competitive, and how can you be competitive in the market? You can only be competitive when you have policies and initiatives that attract people. And I can mention that even in organizations that are mainly Ghanaian owned organizations are also going that line or that tangent to make sure that employees, they keep employees because they are mostly competing with employers of multinational companies. So that is what I would say. Work out your policies, work out your initiatives to be employee friendly so that you can attract the best in the market.
Work out your policies, work out your initiatives to be employee friendly so that you can attract the best on the market. And you must also know that going forward, employees will no longer, or they will not only pay attention to the monies you are giving them, but the non-monetary benefits as well. And so, in putting your policies and all your programs and initiatives together, you want to pay attention to the non-monetary benefits as well, because like Solomon mentioned in his submission, somebody was looking at distance and this is not a lady who will say that I want to close early and get home early and take care of my children. The fathers are also paying attention. The working fathers, the single fathers in organizations are also paying attention to the non-monetary benefits that we give them. And so please pay attention to it because it will go a long way to help you. Jeff is back, and so we would like Jeff to give us his take on what he anticipates going forward. Would be the environment or the initiatives that people will be looking out for when it comes to the working environment, especially fathers. Hi, Jeff.
You hear me? Do you hear me?
Not too clear. Your line is breaking. I don't know if it's from my end, but I can't really hear you clearly.
I hope you hear me now.
It's better.
This internet thing can be crazy sometimes. Forgive us.
Yeah, it's better. It's better now.
I would say that first and foremost, whatever we do as
but Patience, let me just add something
Sure.
that, for example, we are doing for fathers. So on this Father's Day, we've asked employees to capture a happy moment of them and their family, either cooking, maybe swimming, whatever it is, to see how they spend time with their family. And I must tell you that the response we are getting is quite massive, because when you look at our kind of work that we do as an FMCG, you have the blue collar roles more, so you would expect that they may not participate, but in fact these people are really participating and making sure that they share those moments with their family to win an award. Again, for example, last year we did a cooking competition for fathers, and I will tell you, we saw fathers cooking so well. I think Jeffrey, with his experience, doesn't need much to be asked. and we rewarded the group that came up successful. And these are also even some of the bonding activities that as a business we will do to loosen up and then let employees be more affable and then know and relate to each other well. So these are some of the things that we are looking out for when it comes to fatherhood, and then making sure that we impact the business as well as employees in our company.
Wow, that's amazing. Great job. Please, if you are listening, don't just listen, learn, and also implement something at your pay. I mean, sometimes I keep saying that if you're an HR person and you want to live in isolation, you will crash early. So all these platforms and the discussions we are having are all opportunities for you to pick ideas and go and implement at your workplace. I love the cooking competition, but I think I'll be having that next year at my workplace. We'll do cooking competition, right? So Josephine says very insightful, great submission. Jeffrey and Solomon. And again, thank you, Sedat Consult. It's always great to have you. It's great having you too, Josephine. Jeff, so you give us your final submission and the mode. Oh, I guess the network is not helping, Jeff. And so we want to say a very big thank you to all of you for participating in today's episode. This is a special Father's Day episode, and we discussed all right, so Jeff is in. Hi, Jeff. Yes, I was closing. I was bringing the discussion to a close, and I saw you again. So I want to take your submission, and then I
right from my end. But this internet thing is very surprising to me today because it's been working so well, and then all of maybe want me to talk about. It's fun, I think a lot of what's going on. You might please forgive me. In wrapping up,
so if you can position yourself well.
Yeah. Let me move to a
I think it's
different.
better. I think it's better.
Yeah, it's better now.
Is it much better now?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay, sorry. What I would say is, what changes, you have to make those changes globally. And I think what is global is that organizations have been more way of
Oh, Jeff, you are breaking. We are not hearing you clearly.
Oh wow. Are you
This is
hearing me
better.
now?
Yes, it's better. It's better now. Ouch.
It's fine.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in to today's episode. Like I said, it's a special Father's Day episode, and we discussed how to support working fathers when it comes to workplace policies and initiative. And my guests, I've had I was blessed to have two of the big minds in HR fraternity to join us on today's discussion, Solomon and Jeffrey, and they have helped us to learn a lot. Like I said, please learn, go and implement at your workplace. You learn, you implement, you learn, you implement. That is what will help you to grow. And we want to say a very big thank you to Solomon and to Jeffrey for accepting our invitation and helping us discuss our topic for today. I'd like to remind you that next week we would be resuming our Q&A session, and so keep sending your questions in. Send us any question surrounding HR, but I mean any question about HR, please send it to us. We'll bring our resource persons, and then they would help us to respond to it. Once we are done with the Q&A session, we would move to the normal discussion. We have to break it and have this conversation because today is Father's Day, and we want to appreciate our fathers and let them know that we think about them in as much as we think about the ladies at the workplace. My name is Patience, and I have been your host for today's episode. I'll see you next week. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Sedat HR Consult and Quick Fix Creatives. We'll see you next week. Please share the link, comment on all our social media handles, let people know that something great is happening here. Invite your friends to also come and learn because there's so much to learn and there's so much to do. Thank you, and we'll see you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.